Hi there, Joel from Jonesy's, and today is a sad day. Our 65 Suburban that's powered with a 5.3 liter LS, also has a 2000 Tahoe drivetrain in it, is down. We don't have any oil pressure, and that's a bad thing. I'm going to show you how to fix it. Thanks for watching. Well, here we go. We don't have any oil pressure, so here's what's happening. The owner of this vehicle, he goes out, starts up in the morning, and sometimes it takes a little bit for it to actually build oil pressure. And then after it warms up, it gets really bad. He pulls up to a stop sign and his oil pressure drops off. He raises the RPMs and it picks right back up and goes back to normal. So, real common thing on these 5.3 liter, 4.8 liter, 6 liter, 6.2, all of the LS series Chevrolet engines. Eventually what happens is the oil pressure drops off, and it's because of the O-ring on the pickup tube. And so we are going to go ahead and remove all of the skid plates, drop the front cross member down, drop the front axle down, remove the oil pan, and get to that O-ring. So let's get to it.
Here's the tool list you guys are going to need to do this job. A pry bar, screwdriver. I used a 1/4 inch air ratchet, 1/4 inch 10 millimeter wobbly socket, 10 millimeter straight, 13 millimeter straight, a kind of wobbly ratchet with a long 1/4 inch extension, 21 millimeter wrench, an 18 millimeter wrench, a 15 millimeter wrench, 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench, a 15 millimeter wobbly 3/8 drive socket, an 18 millimeter wobbly 3/8 drive socket, a 1/2 inch 21 wobbly, as well as a couple of 1/2 inch extensions, oil filter claw, a pair of side cutters, my handy dandy Ingersoll Rand air impact 1/2 inch drive, 3/8 drive, also some brake cleaner, some rags, razor blade I used to scrape the gasket, as well as some black RTV. You'll also need a drill to drill out the rivets on the factory pan, and then obviously some shop towels, rags. So that's what you're going to need in addition to obviously the gasket and the oil pump O-ring. So we're going to go ahead and start by taking off all these skid plates, get a better view of what we're working with, and then after that we're going to go ahead and take this this cross member off and see where we have to go from there. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drop this front differential right here. And in order to do that, we are going to remove that bolt right there, as well as this bolt right here, and both of those. And then what that'll allow us to do is that'll allow us to have much better access to all of the oil pan and get all those oil pan bolts off. In addition to those, we're going to have to come back here, take that guard off, take bell housing bolt off right here because it ties into the oil pan. We'll drain the oil, take the oil filter off, and we'll get all of the bolts up along the edge there that hold it in. So go ahead and get that differential drop down.
got the front differential kind of sitting there dangling. You can see it's loose. I'm thinking that that will be enough room to get that oil pan dropped down, but if it isn't, then we may have to continue taking some of this stuff apart over here to get it a little bit looser. But anyway, next step is going to be to go through, disconnect the wiring harness in the front here, and start taking off all of the oil pan bolts as well as the bolts in the bell housing. So I'm going to do that now. Those are all 10 millimeter. All right, guys, we're deep into it, and I just wanted to pause here and talk a little bit about this front wiring harness clip. This guy right here is kind of a bear to get out. It's got some clips that hold this battery cable in, and then right here where my finger is, there is a bolt that you have to take out, and then this will slide like that. It's got that indexing pin right there that slides in. Then you can take that off, and you'll have much better access to the rest of those front oil pan bolts. So we're going to go ahead and keep taking those oil pan bolts out, and hopefully be dropping the pan down pretty soon. Here we got all the bolts out, and you can see the pan is loose, and that right there, that tube, is the oil pump pickup, and that's the culprit. So at this point, all it is wrestle that oil pan out so we can wash it and replace that O-ring on that pickup tube. That is our culprit, that green O-ring right there. And that's why we are having problems. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the gasket surface all cleaned up, get everything washed in the parts washer, and get ready to reinstall it. So we got everything cleaned up, and here is the oil pan. It's ready to go. Got everything wiped down. It's good to go. We had to, this was an original oil pan gasket, and so we had to drill out some of the rivets. There's two of them that held it to the pan right there, and also right there. You can see right there is one spot, and right there is the other spot. So got a brand new gasket and have the new O-ring, and you can see the old O-ring itself is kind of squared off. It's flattened down. The new O-ring is nice and round, good to go. Now there are some conflicting opinion as to whether or not you put any silicone on that O-ring. I think that's a bad idea, because if a little chunk of silicone comes off, it'll get sucked right up into that oil pump, and then it'll potentially plug your passages. They are pretty small. Now, with that said, we are going to add a little bit of sealer, just like they did from the factory, right there in the corners. You can see right up in there on all four corners where the access plates and front timing cover plates come on. So we're going to wipe this down one more time, get the oil pump pickup tube in place. It's right here. It's all cleaned up, good to go. We verified that that screen was totally clean. We got all of our bolts washed, ready to go, so we are ready to reinstall and button this thing back up.
it, guys. Only thing that's left is to put the oil filter back on, fill it full of oil, check for leaks, and put these covers on, and we're done. So let's see how she runs. Alright guys, here we are, moment of truth. So we'll start it up and see what happens. Ooh, coming right up. That's a very good sign. So we're up to almost 50. Coming down a little bit. But it's holding steady, so it is actually, it's steady pressure, so that's a very good sign. So now what we're going to do is let it run for a little while, take it up in the air, and verify we don't have any more leaks, and put all the skid pans back on.